creatively, they put up the signs here. There's a couple more around the town here that says water on road, and this was put up before the heavy rain really even came down. So they know these are some areas that tend to kind of puddle up and pond up. So they want to put that water on road sign up to let people know, hey, be mindful, things can get a little tough here. Right now, not too terrible, but that has changed. As we've been out here for the last, I'd say, hour or so, just kind of monitoring things, at times, the water creeps up. And I'd probably be in almost ankle-deep water right here. Instead, it's just sort of up to maybe my toes. So not too bad right now because we've gotten sort of lulls in the heavy rain, but it picks up in intensity, and all of a sudden, the water begins to rise here, and it becomes really, again, very difficult to even see the roadway because the water is covering up. So that's one of the concerns that is in play here in a spot like Santee and across portions of South Carolina with this heavier rain that is going to be pushing on through as the core of the system moves in as well. Now, get a chance to hear from the governor of South Carolina, and here's what he had to say about the storm, at least so far.
This is not as bad as some that we've seen. We don't think it's going to be as destructive as some, but it is going to be destructive. It's going to cause, there'll be high winds, be a lot of water, particularly, of course, in the low country. Estimates are that up around Myrtle Beach, from, say, maybe above Georgetown to Myrtle Beach, it might be 1, 2, maybe a few more feet, but down in Beaufort, it might be higher than that.
That's an opportunity to hear from the South Carolina Governor, Henry McMaster, there about how the storm is faring in South Carolina, at least so far. And right now it seems like the power outage situation, not a horrible one at the moment. Most of the power outages seem to be closer towards the border there with the state line there, at least with the state of Georgia. That's the area where the power outages are mounting a bit more. But overall, we have seen that number kind of tick up just a bit here for us. Last time I checked here, we were talking about that number around the state of South Carolina, around 13,000. That went up from 4,000 the hour prior to that. And so we'll continue to deal with that again. Some of these gustier winds, see that starting to pick up a bit as well with the rain. That's something that we'll be watching for as we head on through the day. So certainly got to prepare for that. Not just here in Santee, but across this general region. With those gusty winds, tree limbs could start to come down, and that could lead to more power outage situations out there for us. Now, as far as the schools are concerned, they closed in Orangeburg County, closed a bit earlier today, and for tomorrow, they're essentially going to be on the e-learning schedule there, hoping to get everything back up on Friday, ready to go for everyone out there. Now, we also talked to some of the emergency officials here in and around Orangeburg County, and the biggest message they really have for folks is what we try to tell people all the time, right? Just gotta stay at home and stay off of these roads. This thing eventually will move on by. You can see farther to the south, Jim just a few moments ago was saying the sun was coming out there in Cedar Key. Stephanie there in the Statesboro area in Georgia, starting to see that back into the rain coming into there. So it is moving, and that may be one of the best things about the system is it's not going to stick around and hang around forever. It is moving. Despite that, though, still some heavy rainfall, downpours, and that could certainly lead to some flash flooding, and that's why there are some flash flood warnings that are in place for us, at least right now. Let's get back to the studio now. We have Dr. Rick Knabb watching the system. And Dr. Knabb, in terms of the core of the system, is it still holding intact, or are we really seeing it unwind at this point?
There's enough of a core of a storm, especially on its north side, such that, Alex, where you are in Santee and Orangeburg, you have a long time yet of heavy rainfall. So these flash flood situations could get more dangerous over the next few hours. And the center of circulation has come across from Georgia, now crossing into South Carolina. The whole system's moving northeast at 21. But look at how it's interacting with a front, so it's kind of lopsided. But unfortunately, that puts the center of action right along this corridor along the north side of it. So that's why flash flooding is going to be such a problem. In addition to, as Alex mentioned, the tropical storm force winds. Got the warnings at the coast going inland as far as Columbia. It'll be this time tomorrow when the center is offshore. But we also have a band stretching all the way down through central portions of Florida. So here's the center of circulation, but there is the really nasty part of the storm on land. But we also have some problematic bands coming on shore that have brought some occasional spin-ups. Now, in Statesboro, you've got a northerly wind And Savannah, it's turned around westerly, so you can see where the center of circulation is. But in Waterboro, the winds will be on the increase. Orangeburg is gusted to 37 miles an hour, so there's definitely some wind. And then we've got the tornado watch for the low country and then getting up into Wilmington, North Carolina. And we do have a couple of tornado warnings in effect right now. And look at how these spin up. Look at that one about to come on shore. So that's why in the North Myrtle Beach to Long's area, right near the state line there, is under a warning. But here's the warning that we've had in Brunswick County, North Carolina, till 7:15. There is the area of, this is the second area of rotation to go through the same spot. So this is headed up toward Bell Swamp and Town Creek in the next few minutes if it holds together. Lowest level, most interior room in these tornado warnings. A lot of lightning, and you can see a little bit of a hook echo there. Now let's back out and look at what's going on with the flash flooding. So here's Savannah, here's Charleston, and here's Columbia, and here's the Orangeburg and Santee area where Alex Wallace is, and it's really heavy rain in that general vicinity. So here's that big flash flood warning for Bamberg, Calhoun, and Orangeburg counties until 9:30, and it doesn't have a considerable threat tag yet, but that could be added later if this continues, and then you could really start to see some significant impacts on the roads, maybe into some structures. That's at least a possibility. There is a considerable threat on the Colleton and Hampton County warning, including Walterboro and I-95 here until 8:45, and then we still have this big flash flood warning extends all the way back down to Statesboro and near I-16. Considerable threat, and even though the rain is letting up, look at just an example of what can happen in Metter, Georgia. Candler County Emergency Management reporting a number of dirt roads washed out, and water has entered a nursing home in Metter, Georgia. So it's roads and it's also structures. Now there's all the heavy rain that we've had, but look at what's happening now with the onshore push here. And in Charleston, South Carolina, we're not only going to have the risk of flash flooding, but also now we've got saltwater flooding about 2 feet above normally dry ground, and we're headed to high tide in the next couple of hours. So we're going to add another foot with the high tide, Colleen, and we got more onshore push to come. So that's why we could have 3 to 5 feet of saltwater flooding in that general area. Storm surge warning is in effect in addition to the rain-induced flood problem.
Yeah, Dr. Knapp, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to ask you, because been tracking the tidal cycles here. We're not even at high tide, and Charleston already seeing that push of water into the downtown areas.
And high tide in the next 2 hours is going to add another foot of flooding above normally dry ground, plus more of the onshore push. So it's bad timing for Charleston.
So really, water is the biggest issue right now as Tropical Storm Idalia continues.
Absolutely.
All righty, well.